Hello, and welcome to everybody's favorite Thursday offering from the Player 3 podcast, 3 Topic Thursday with Luke and Diz. I'm Luke.
I'm Diz. Hi.
That may not be true from here on out about the Thursday thing, because Larry's going to be streaming starting tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern time.
That may be the favorite.
Going to be playing a little Slender called Lar Hunts Evil.
I like that idea.
I'm very, very excited about it. It's going to be good
that's
stuff.
Idea.
So shout out to Larry Hunt, wherever you may be.
He's probably somewhere watching us because
he's here, because he's in the chat. All right. Welcome to 3 Topic Thursday, where we bring 3 topics to the table, not I. One of the topics today was your idea.
And one of the topics was from a
viewer, which is kind of the structure.
That's the ideal.
That's the ideal structure for me. I bring a topic, you bring a topic, the viewers and listeners bring a topic, and that's what we talk about. And that's how we have it today. I'm very, very excited about it. Good. So if you're out there and you're listening to us or watching us on youtube.com/player3podcast, send us something over at player3podcast@gmail.com. Tweet it at TK from Antioch or at Zombiezi, and you're going to use Twitter.
It's a struggle. I've tried numerous times. I just don't have anything interesting enough to post.
Just selfies of yourself holding that cat that you somehow have now.
He wants to get back in. Katie's like, let's bring him in when it gets cold outside.
You're probably going to want to bring him in so he doesn't wash away. Hey, yeah. I have.
We might die, boys and girls.
I have a half topic I want to bring up on the heels of that. This doesn't count on the 3 Topic Thursday stuff. And Larry says he's seen you retweet stuff recently, so that's all. I
retweeted
good.
Something from a nice comedian about saying the worst thing that's ever happened to the world was the canceling of Silent Hills.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't say the worst thing. They had a great topic on. Was it the Game Over Greggy show where they talked about what the worst trivial thing that's ever happened to you? What's the worst thing that's ever happened? Yeah, but that's not my half topic for you. We may talk about that some other time.
Is it Joaquin?
My half topic is coming on the heels of Joaquin.
Okay,
Hurricane Joaquin. We are from Virginia, and we are directly in the path of torrential. It's like a nor'eastern and like all kinds of crazy stuff going on right now. We're expected to get like 15 to 20 inches of rain or something like that.
Destruction, how fast are the winds? Right now it's category 3, so it's 150, right?
I don't know.
And we're going to get the outspurts of that. So the trees are coming down.
So my question to you is this. We were talking earlier today as we watched the sky and felt the rain begin. And I was talking to you about how like I am really kind of interested in being a part of these sorts of moments in history. You know, like I like to see crazy weather. Like when we had the polar vortex, is that what they're called? When it got like negative degrees around here. Yes. Like I'm really interested in being a part of those things because I'm hopefully not going to die. I might die now that I said that.
I don't know. I mean, we experienced Sandy. We experienced the Duratio. We experienced a bunch of these things. So this is just the next thing on our list that we are going to survive.
That's right. So my question to you is, when crazy weather like this happens, whether it's going to be there's flooding and you can't get out, when there's a lot of snow and you can't get out, how do you like to spend those days?
When you're
hunkered away,
sleeping. No, I mean, it's a tough one because as a kid I would just freak out and scream. But as an adult, I'll probably just play some board games or card games with my wife by candlelight. Dude, she left a candle on all last night.
Me too.
That's not good.
High five.
That's not good. No.
High five me.
That's not good.
I'm going to die in a natural disaster, according to Larry here, so I'm not worried about leaving the candle on.
Fire's pretty natural, except it was probably lit by you.
Yeah.
Hours before.
There was that pumpkin candle in there, and I walked down this morning, I was like, it smells really good down here.
And she wants the cat back in. That's one of the leading causes of house fires, are cats knocking over lit candles.
Really?
Yes.
That's why we don't have one.
The more you know.
Zephyr Baby's in here. Yeah, like I will spend all days I'm flooded in here playing video games, but if the power goes out, I'll probably just kill myself.
Dude, we really should have gotten some of those pizzas. I forgot to get some pizzas.
Were they giving away the pizzas?
They were giving away the pizzas. We had almost 8 extra.
Yeah.
And if our power goes out and we have no microwave, I'm just going to have to start eating something that isn't supposed to be eaten.
What's up, Limitless Killer? Welcome to the stream. And Zephyr. Zephyr wants to know how you're doing. How you doing,
Me?
dude? How you doing?
I'm doing well, other than the fact that we might drown. But hey, live to die another day.
Don't drown, don't die. That's our goal here over on P3P.
I have a good defense from drowning.
What's that?
Swimming.
That's good. But many people who know how to swim have drowned also. So it's not foolproof. All right.
Dang it! There goes the plan.
All right. Well, I've got 3 topics. We're 2 good friends. Let's get into this thing. All right. First item on the list. Not item on the list. This isn't Monday.
It is the first item.
It is our first item.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this story that made the rounds last night. Call of Duty. Some very brilliant marketing expert over there decided that live tweeting a fake terrorist attack would be the greatest thing. This is from GameSpot.
Success.
It says Activision posted a series of tweets on Tuesday suggesting it was live reporting a terrorist attack. The series of messages, which were fictional but not marked as such, sets up the framework of events to feature an upcoming shooter, Call of Duty Black Ops 3, shared via the official Call of Duty Twitter account. The post began with reports of an explosion in Marina Bay, Singapore. And you can't see it here because it's just drawing off of their when they changed it back, but they had changed their entire layout, and I think it was like breaking news aggregate or world news aggregate or something like that.
They made it to look like an actual news site. Mm-hmm. Like there was very little evidence of that it was still Call of Duty.
Yeah. Except that it remained at Call of Duty. But it started off breaking news. Unconfirmed reports are coming in of an explosion on the north bank of the Singapore Marina. Now, if you are tuning in just now and you heard me read that is fake.
That didn't happen.
That did not happen. I also forgot to turn subalert on. Anyway, the source of the explosion is reported to be a Coalescence Corporation. Coalescence Corporation, a fictional company that was featured in the Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Ember teaser. The tweets went on to state that Singapore authorities had announced an official state of emergency and declared martial law. The final post in the series of tweets reads, "This was a glimpse into the future fiction of Black Ops 3." Here it is, current events aggregate. That's what it was called.
Scroll it for me a little bit. Saying that this country has went into official state of emergency and declared martial law. That is absurd to say. This is a country of people who have probably no clue what's going on. We're saying about them.
That's a really good point, actually. Like, Singapore is a country that has access to technology, and not all of them may be fully aware of Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on this, and obviously you kind of see it as I see it, and that is that this was dumb on their part.
It's completely absurd. Like, who thought that was a good idea? We live in the post 9/11 world where we're all real hypersensitive about it just because, we didn't live through Pearl Harbor. We know that was terrible, but we hadn't experienced it. We didn't understand the gravity of it. But now that we've understood the gravity of what a terrorist attack is, and other people in the world have also experienced different ones that we haven't, it's sensitive. All right. And all we hear anymore is more and more bombings, more and more violence. And to hear that this country is involved, that's going to spark a lot of emotions. It was just in bad taste. I mean, I don't know why I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and agree with the sentiment of just about everybody that that replied. Like, why, if you want to introduce people to the fiction of your universe, why not just release a trailer? And I think they did end up releasing a trailer later on, or that very same day. But whoever sat in that meeting and was like, "Hey guys, I got a great idea. We're gonna make up a fake terrorist attack and live tweet it as if it is actually happening." And whoever was sitting in that room and was like,
and he was like, wait, there's more. We're going to make the Twitter page look completely different and believable.
Right.
We really want this to stick.
Right. And even like for people who are unaware of what Call of Duty is, and I think they have almost 3 million followers on Twitter, but we are aware of what Call of Duty is. Mm-hmm. But there are many people in this country and around this world that don't have a clue what Call of Duty is. Mm-hmm. And so even seeing the Twitter handle is at Call of Duty, you could think like, okay, well, this is like their job. Their Call of Duty is to be a breaking news aggregate. So they did something like that. Like, I can very legitimately see people seeing this and being like, that's for real.
Yeah.
and that people legitimately thought something bad was going down in Singapore.
And as we talked about 2 weeks ago, the internet is full of people who believe the Onion articles. So they're going to see this and just run with it.
Yeah, I wanted to say it in a tweet yesterday, but I couldn't fit it into 140 characters. But I was like, in a world where people will share the Onion articles as if they are legitimate news, why would you ever think that this was going to be a good idea? And my biggest problem with it is that they probably got exactly what they expected and exactly what they wanted.
We're talking about it.
You know, like we're talking about it. We're talking about Call of Duty. It's being talked about in spheres that are not just video game related. You know, news outlets have picked up on this, and now people who have never heard the name Call of Duty are hearing it for the very first time. And, you know, any press is good press, even bad press. So, and then the whole, like, obviously people already, before they sent out the fan fiction thing, already people were like, what are you thinking? And I want to be very clear about this. Like, I was not personally offended by it by any means. I just thought it was very irresponsible when you have that many followers and you have that big of a social media presence. But what was I saying? I can't. Now I've lost my point to make my other point.
Oh. Well, I mean, you said it last night in the text to me. There really wasn't much harm done, but still, you're alluding to something that would get people panicky. I mean, you're going to get people on board to like, okay, it's getting worse. The world is getting worse, and that stresses people out. So yeah, there wasn't any real physical harm done to it by the action, but it still was poor taste.
Ryan McCaffrey on Twitter, the guy that works over at IGN, hosts a podcast Unlocked. He was talking. He tweeted out the article, and there was a guy that was in the responses that was bashing anybody who seemed to be offended by it by saying that Advanced Warfare did this with the release of the zombie DLC, and it's like, those are two totally different things. Like, I would imagine that we are a discerning enough people that if we see breaking news about a zombie outbreak, we can automatically just chalk it up to fiction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just remember my point. I'll come back to it.
Go for it.
But when it comes to like taking a part of the world that is very volatile, and where things like this can legitimately happen, you know, it would be just as believable to say it happened somewhere on U.S. soil. Like that's the world we live in, where minute by minute things can change, and it was just very irresponsible social media wise. But going back to the point I was going to make was that, you know, when they started tweeting this stuff out and people caught on that it wasn't happening, like the big response was, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" And then it was like they just had such resolve to stick to the plan, to stick to the marketing plan, and so when they did the whole, like, this was a glimpse into the fan fiction, it felt like they were looking over everybody that was responding to them's head and being like, we don't care. This was a glimpse into the future fiction of Call of Duty.
So you think, but here's the thing, was that part planned, or was that just the alternate route they took because there was such backlash? You think they would have kept digging deeper if people would have been on board about it?
If that was their response to the backlash, that's the single worst apology ever.
Yes.
You know? So I imagine that was like the series of tweets that they had scheduled out. I don't think somebody sits behind their keyboard at these companies and types it out to go out live. I think they probably schedule them out to be released. And so I imagine that's the way it was supposed to end, but somebody should have been able to hop in and been like, okay, we might have like lacked some discernment in the decision that we just made. And again, like, no harm done. I mean, it didn't cause panic, I don't think. Maybe it did. If it caused panic for you, I apologize if I'm making light of it. If you live in Singapore and you thought something crazy was happening. But it was just so irresponsible and so tone deaf, and just in a world that's very sensitive to things like that. I think there's a space you have to exist in, that even if there are a group of people like us who are like, you know, whatever. Like, I do want to see that you're responsible with the voice that you have among a community of people.
It's not the first time that video game companies have done something rash like this. I was telling you today about the Watch Dogs
Yeah, I
thing.
never heard of this.
Yeah.
I'm going to look this up.
Go for it, yeah. as we've seen that this version of what would it be considered guerrilla marketing, guerrilla advertising, just something crazy and shocking. Even though we're talking about right now, Watch Dogs, the video game, had sent this company, and let's see what the company was called. They sent it to Ninesum. Well, what they did is that they received this black case with
it was a black safe with a blacked out note asking the recipient to check their voicemail.
Yes. And there's just like a little keypad on the front of it. And some of the people that received it said that it started ticking. So you know what that caused? A full-on bomb scare. It was a bomb threat, essentially. And they brought in the police. They brought in the bomb squad to check it out. So they ran it through this, just like, I guess, an x-ray machine, just normal, just shove it through there and see what's inside. And what was inside was 2 copies of Watch Dogs and like a T-shirt. So, I mean, this form of sending this nondescript black box, again, in post 9/11 days, that caused a shocking reaction. And it's rightfully so. I mean, you know, we were having all the issues about, like, what were bombs and what weren't bombs and crazy things being sent in the mail. I have no... I think they reacted pretty well. I mean, to assume that, hey, this could be something horrible. So I thought that was pretty poor taste of the Watch Dogs developers. But we also...
I was just going to say, fun fact, most bombs don't beep, they buzz. I don't remember where I found that, where I heard that. But most of the time, TSA agents bust open bags when they hear buzz, and it turns out to be like a electric razor or like maybe a phone that was left in a bag or some sort of accoutrement, you know.
Wouldn't that be embarrassing?
Don gave me the wrong bag. He gave me the wrong bag.
And it also read up on another one, another kind of marketing campaign like that. I remember the game Mercenaries.
Yes.
It's got the dude with like the beard and he's got the grenade thing in his mouth. For Mercenaries 2, they like blocked off this big street in London and had a big sign that said free gas. Because the mercenaries were, you know, trying to help these other countries. So they were giving away like $36,000 worth of gas. And it caused an insane traffic jam. And people just went nuts.
And this was probably back when gas was like 8 pounds a gallon.
8 pounds a gallon.
That would work, right?
That would be like $12 for us.
I don't know.
The exchange rate is very odd on that one.
Yeah.
But these kind of ad campaigns have failed before.
But is it a failure?
We're talking about it, but it was just the wrong route to take of sending something that could be looked to as a bomb.
Right, but like with the Call of Duty thing,
mm-hmm.
like we don't buy that. People don't buy that game because we think Call of Duty is intelligent. We buy that game because people think it's fun. And if it draws people to look at the video and look at your gameplay videos or your trailers and like be attracted to it, then it does the job. So I don't know if those things are necessarily failures.
But what's attractive about a fake terrorist attack?
Nothing. But when people look up Call of Duty,
like, oh, this, yeah, because I don't think that's going to make them lose any fans.
That's what I was going to ask you. And in the chat, if you think this is going to have a negative impact on anybody, let us know, because
I think it'll have a negative impact on the already existing video game haters, like the ones that are like, oh, violence, violence, violence. But the existing fans of it, they'll be like, huh.
Yeah, I think it just deepens the rut of people who are already kind of like a little done with Call of Duty. Like we look at it and we're like, just another misstep. In you know,
Call of Duty's not even my favorite first-person shooter.
Yeah,
it just kind of blew up.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good segue into the next topic,
because this is my favorite, one of my favorite first-person series,
which comes from faithful listener.
Yeah,
Milky 513. Let's see if he's in here before we jump into this. Not that that's going to stop us or anything. If you're watching over here on twitch.tv/player3podcast and you've missed any of this episode, go subscribe over on youtube.com/player3podcast, where we will roll this thing out to you in its fullest of forms.
This is so cold.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I need to give you a travel mug when we come down here.
Well, I also am the one stirring it and letting all the air in.
That is very true as well. Yeah. Milky513 sends us an article, says, found this article on Medal of Honor because I have to be the only guy that liked the games. So I was looking for more info on the series. So here's the article he sent us from a website I don't think I've ever visited. Have you ever been on this website? MP First? It says, EA says Medal of Honor will return once they, quote, get the leadership aligned. From David Veselka, he says EA has followed up on earlier statements regarding the Medal of Honor franchise being pulled from the company's yearly rotation of shooters, saying it will return once they get the leadership aligned. Speaking to RPS during the recent DICE conferences, EA Chief Creative Director Rich Heilman admits, quote, we don't think it's a genre problem, it's an execution problem. We don't think Medal of Honor's performance speaks to any particular bias in that space against modern settings or World War II or any of that. It's much more that we had some things we should have done better. What we think right now is that for the next couple of years, we can just have one great thing in that space, so we're choosing for it to be Battlefield. They didn't do the quotes right there. You're supposed to leave the quote open on the last line and then start the quote again. Anyway, that was end quote for him. It says Heilman also explained how EA plans to be more careful with IPs like Medal of Honor and that caution must be taken in order to not kill those products by trying to do them when we can't do them well, end quote. Okay. So the article continues, and let's just talk about Medal of Honor for a second.
Oh, yeah, man. I loved this game back around 2007, right when I was graduating high school. I played the junk out of Airborne. That was the game for me at that time. And just how different it was from other games. I know it was such a small aspect, but when you spawned, or in the campaign when you jumped out of the airplane, you were literally on with your parachute deciding where to go, where to land, depending on your strategy. It was a blast. I mean, I've always been a big fan of just the history of World War II, and it kind of got oversaturated for a while. But there's just something about playing those games, and you just got the M1 Garand, and you hear that shing. Gosh, love it.
Yeah, first of all, Brian D calls me a grammar Nazi, if he only knew. I really enjoyed the Medal of Honor series when it was coming out. And in the latest one, the one that has the guy with the big bushy beard on it.
There's one that came after that.
Oh, is there?
It's just got a yellowish orange photo of a guy.
Oh, well, anyway, the one with the big bushy beard.
Yes.
That game has the single greatest sniper mission of any shooter I've ever played.
It's like shooting a mile?
You're shooting like a mile, and you're shooting these guys on a mountain, and you just watch them explode when you hit them with 50 caliber.
But you're aiming so far above them.
Yeah. It was awesome. So I really enjoyed that series. And, I want to just go back to some of the stuff he talks about. And he talked about how he didn't think this was a genre problem, and it wasn't really about their particular bias. But then he goes on to talk about how they're choosing Battlefield in this. And honestly, with as many kind of either near future or futuristic shooters that we have out there that kind of try to grasp it, Battlefield and Medal of Honor are very similar products in terms of what the eras they tried to tackle. Battlefield started off as a World War II shooter, right?
I'm not sure about that. But I think it's a safe bet, because if you were to say which game had the stronger multiplayer to combat with Call of Duty, it would be Battlefield over Medal of Honor.
Right.
So I think that may be a route they're trying to take. Medal of Honor has great campaigns, but there was that shift where people just kept playing online and it just kind of died out.
Yeah.
So taking Battlefield, I think, is the safest route right now to get back in the game.
Right. And honestly, they must have taken some missteps. I didn't even realize there was another Medal of Honor game that came out after the guy with the big beard. But I would love to see them take a step back in that franchise, which is what they're doing, and not only evaluate how they can make it a strong shooter, in the scope that it tries to be a shooter now, more modern, but rather step back and say that World War II era may have been oversaturated at a time, but people are really begging for that. I was really disappointed when Call of Duty wasn't World at War 2. Instead, it was Black Ops 3. And because then they could have, tweeted the breaking news of Pearl Harbor for their
And then
thing.
people wouldn't be like, wow.
Yeah, they're like, oh wow, you're a little late to the game. Current events aggregate. Oh, I do remember.
It was Warfighter, yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. But anyway, so I'd love to see them be able to say, like, we have a whole audience that has this itch that isn't being scratched, which is for kind of a more realistically paced, more grounded shooter that kind of can step into that World War II era or the World War I, or even, yeah, that's probably about as far into the future as I would want it to go. And like let Medal of Honor go back to its roots and find an audience there again.
I mean, if there was something that drew me to Call of Duty right out the gate, was that it was pretty realistic. Like the pacing was great, the strategy behind it was great, and now you're getting this fast paced, futuristic that's kind of more like Titanfall.
Yeah,
and I'm just not into that. That's just not me.
Right.
So I would love to see another World at War, another successful World War II game, and that's very interesting. You said that it's something that was very oversaturated, but now we're just wanting to go back to it because, where we see the first person shooters going now is futuristic. It's just kind of all seeming even more similar.
Let me ask you a question that you're not prepared for. So
Okay.
So feel free to take some time to think about it. With all of the conversation about oversaturation and where 5-7 years ago we were like World War II shooters. Oh my gosh, can we move on? Whose fault do you think it is for the oversaturation? Do you think it's an industry problem of people who are like, well, this is doing well, we all need to jump on board, EA does it, Activision does, it's just everybody? Or do you think it's a consumer problem where we always see things as being kind of old hat too quickly?
Old hat.
Where it's just like, oh, that's outplayed, I need something different.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously they're going to always have to play to the market. I mean, what's succeeding, what is working. And, I mean, I guess there for a while they still saw this sci-fi shooter and historical shooter as very separate. And now we're seeing a mashup of those and getting more of a futuristic war-style game such as, what was it? I don't even remember the name of the most recent Call of Duty game.
Advanced Warfare?
Advanced Warfare, yeah. So I don't think it's a industry issue, but they're having to react to the consumer as well. Where am I going with this is the question. I can't place blame on either because when consumers are buying one thing, the developers have to get on back with that and vice versa.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one. I can't point a finger at it.
See, I kind of blame it. Oh, go ahead.
But I would say it's more consumer because we're after that again. We want it back. And the developers are probably going to play to that because we want it.
I would make it more of an industry problem. I see exactly what you're saying with consumers wanting things and then being very vocal about wanting those things. But economics 101 is if you want your investments to grow, you diversify. And you find safe places across the board. And so from an industry standpoint, this like developer A, B, and C are doing this and is being successful. Let's be developer D doing it, doing the exact same thing as well, causes this oversaturation that in turn causes it to collapse. Whereas like I think we see it a lot with the battle between Battlefield and Call of Duty right now, where Battlefield is trying to keep their feet on the ground, even as a modern shooter. Like you're not seeing wall running and you're not seeing jetpacks or augmented human beings, and like they found an audience that is interested in those things, and Battlefield has a very good attachment rate. I think Hardline probably fell off a little bit more, but I think that was more because of a vision change with it not being really battle related, more drug related with the storyline. Mm-hmm. Whereas Call of Duty is like, well, Titanfall's doing well, Halo does really well. Like, how can we get into those spaces and make these super Twitch based shooters? Like, Call of Duty, and it may be me just getting older, and like Call of Duty's kind of passed me by, and Titanfall kind of passed me by because it's too much going on. Like, I'm one of those weird guys where people really jumped into the Call of Duty scene at Modern Warfare, and Modern Warfare is a great game, really well paced. But World at War was probably it probably still is my favorite Call of Duty game because it was very visceral. It was very you had to be very intentional in your playing. It had a very great campaign. Like so to me, that whole industry has just passed me by. And in order, as Limitless Killer talks about, Brian D talks about, with having to appeal to future generations, to these younger generations of people, like those kids, they need the stimulation of being able to have incredibly vertical maps and running around. Whereas, like, I would love something that's more ground based and more accuracy related, and not so much about just who has the fastest reactions to it, but who can think through the map the best. But they've all jumped onto this to where, as consumers, we don't have an option. So obviously, the futuristic shooters are selling well because it's the only thing that's available for us to buy. Whereas if there was that diversity among it, they could all kind of find their niche and create strong products within it without feeling like they constantly have to. Saying they don't have to innovate isn't the right way to put it, because I think even in those spaces you have to innovate. But innovation doesn't always mean make it faster, make it more explodey. Download me some more graphics, Call of Duty.
But I'm still going to point the finger more to the consumer. I know this is going to be a future topic, and I don't mean to jump to it, but it's the best example right now. If that's okay, may I speak about Deus Ex?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. That's something where we're seeing this company do something different, do something new. And because of the backlash, they completely changed it. So that means the consumer won. What the consumer wanted is what the developer did. So I'm still seeing that the more futuristic shooting games that consumers buy, the more that the developers are going to say, well, let's give them more of it. But again, it's very symbiotic. Because they're giving out these games, we're going to buy them, and because we're buying them, they're going to give us more.
Right.
Like I said, I can't point finger at either one, but I'm pointing more to consumers than anything.
Yeah.
It's a tough one for me.
To me, it's like if I had a cake factory and I started making vanilla cake, and there was somebody down the street from me that started selling chocolate cake a couple years after I just started selling vanilla cake. And everybody's like, well, I'm getting a little tired of vanilla, so I'm going to go for a little bit and do the chocolate thing. And I'm like, well, scrap vanilla altogether. We're only selling chocolate. And it's like, then you look at your numbers and you're like, wow, chocolate cake is selling awesome. 100% of my sales are from the chocolate cake, but that's all I'm making. Like, I have nothing else to compare it to. I can't tell you if there's any interest in the vanilla cake anymore because nobody can buy it because I'm not making it anymore.
But now people
that's
are
a terrible example.
But now people are like, we really liked it when there was vanilla cake, so let's get that back. And we're saying that. Let's get more realistic. Give us more, World War II back.
So you're saying it's a consumer problem in as much as, like, if we wanted the World War or the kind of older, like, that took place in the 40s, those kinds of shooters, we should have just stuck to that and not jump ship to go
not necessarily
to the chocolate cake.
What I'm saying is that now, because we had this oversaturation of World War II games, vanilla cake. Then they brought this futuristic chocolate cake. Now we're like, man, we really missed that vanilla cake. So let's bring it back. That's controlled by consumers.
Okay.
Where their ebb and flow is.
All right.
Now, I'm not saying everybody wants World War II shooters. I do.
Right.
But I'm not saying everybody. I don't know if there's a strong enough population of people that's going to try to get that.
Yeah.
But I think there is a growing number of people that are getting sick of the chocolate cake, getting sick of the futuristic shooters.
And there's nowhere to buy the vanilla cake anymore unless I just go back.
So the developers are like, they want it, so we got to get on there. We got to do it.
So come on, Medal of Honor. Help us out. Help us out. Limitless Killer wants to know how we enjoy the Taken King. Neither of us are real big Destiny guys anymore.
I've never played a minute of Destiny.
You can go over onto youtube.com/player3podcast. We've got several episodes where we talk about the Taken King update, though, with some guys that watch it and play it. So when we're done with this live stream, you hop on over there and you check that out and interact with it.
Benjamin D. Hankins, the D
stands for Destiny. Again. That's right. So, yeah, and Brian D says it very well. He says it exactly, very well said. The company will pursue the consumer group that they think will make the most money. And then they'll make the most money from. And then he says, cake. I do really want some cake now.
You want vanilla or chocolate cake? Or pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice cake.
Gotta go back to O'Kelly's.
Got to go back to O'Kelly's. That pumpkin spice cake. I would leave my wife for another piece of that cake. All right. I kind of this got me thinking.
Okay.
Did you have any luck with this topic after we talked about it?
I did.
So Milky brings up something else that I want to talk about, and that is how, like, when you think about specific genres, you think about a specific game in that genre. Mm-hmm. So first person shooter, you think Call of Duty or Halo. Those are your two things. When you think sports game, you're probably going to think Madden. That's probably the first thing that's going to come to your mind. 2Ks, NBA 2Ks kind of quickly coming up on that territory as well.
Let me throw you one. Platformer.
Mario.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're going to think Mario. Although Lucky Sheep says he dares us to yell, "What are those?" You wanna indulge?
I got name brand shoes. Do you have name brand shoes?
Huh?
Do you have name brand shoes?
I don't know.
They don't look name brand.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Put them up on here.
All right.
What are those? What is on that?
Huh?
I thought that was a stink bug.
Oh, no. We're good.
I found one in my backpack today. That sucks.
Make sure you hit that follow button, Lucky Sheeps.
I don't think they stink. I think they smell like cucumbers.
What?
Stink bugs.
You don't think stink?
I think they smell like cucumbers.
Moving on. My question to you is, in these genres that kind of have like their marquee title within them, where do your tastes deviate? Where you're like, I really am not a big fan of that. I'm much proud because Milky prefers Medal of Honor over some of these other more popular shooters. Yeah. So my question to you is, in those genres that have their marquee titles, where do you kind of break the mold?
Man, well, I haven't really broke the mold much lately, but I would say that I was more of a Medal of Honor fan because I'm very campaign driven. That's why I haven't played Destiny, is because you kind of have to play online, and that's really not my style. I'm very lone wolf. But there have been a lot of good first-person shooters that have came out that just got completely overshadowed because of other releases. And one series that I really enjoyed and really missed was, do you remember the series called Fear? Yes. But when like Fear came out and Fear 3 came out, I believe, also it was around the same time of Killzone 3. It was also the time of like, what else was there? There's another big title that came out during that time, but it just got overshadowed. I really enjoyed that more than other first-person shooters because there was still that paranormal, scary horror aspect to it. Now, I'm not saying that I would still just, go back and play these old games from 2005, 2011, or not 2011. Yeah, I think it was 2011. But 2005 was like Fear 1. So I'm not saying I would just keep playing those games, but I missed that series. I think if they came back full force, it would make a presence. Mm-hmm. And, I just always like that horror aspect to it. And we're kind of deviating away from that into more of like an action-based survival, kind of like Resident Evil.
But I think
and then we're going back.
We're coming back.
Because of Until Dawn was a flipping blast to watch.
Right. And then you have games like PT. You have games like Outlast. You have games like
Alice in Road coming out.
Like Alien Isolation. Those aren't necessarily action-based games because they're stealth and they're like you have no defenses about you except staying hidden, staying quiet. Hello, wife. Alan King of Badgers wants to know, why doesn't Dad love me?
Why doesn't Dad love you? Well, I mean, what are your hobbies? Let's figure that out first. Is it something he's like, oh, he's doing that again?
Like, oh my gosh, I just want him to play football, but yet he just crochets doilies all day. And your dad probably just doesn't understand the technicality and the craftsmanship and art behind doily making. We fully support you here on the Player 3 podcast, but Dad needs to try it out. Making lace doilies so that he can understand, like man, this is like a good steak. You got to take your time, and you gotta know what you're doing, and you got to watch some YouTube videos on it, and then he's gonna respect you a little bit more.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he's also kind of upset because it's like the fourth time he's woken up from a nap, and you've painted his nails rainbow colored.
Right, and you're like breathing really heavily right into his face, like.
I mean, but we're just assuming.
Right, and we've also know you.
Personally,
we see you
intimately.
and we have your phone number.
Which is 276.
That's right. Brian D says it improves your hand-eye coordination when you make those doilies. For me, and I stay in the sport genre a lot just because like that's where I am. Mm-hmm. And most people would argue that ESPN NFL 2K5 was the greatest football game of all time.
Would they?
Most.
Okay, that's good.
But I think, and this is another thing. You know, you talked about how like fear came out in the midst of some other things that just really overshadowed it.
It got lost.
And 2K5 is a very solid offering, but Madden 2005 is probably my favorite football game of all time. It introduced the hit stick, completely changed the way that we play NFL games to date, and so for me, that would probably be where I kind of break away from the mold. Okay. But I couldn't think of it. And World at War, I already talked about that, how most people think Call of Duty starts with Modern Warfare. But World at War, and I think Brian D. already talked about it up in the chat, or maybe it was Limitless Killer. I don't remember. But just talked about how excellent that campaign was. It was just unreal. It was unreal. Yeah, it was so good. I think it was that game where there's a mission where you're running around like in these trenches on the beach, and there are like enemies jumping out at you and trying to bayonet you, and it's terrifying, and it's so good. It's so good. And the bouncing Bettys, when you'd step on them, and you'd have stubs for legs when you died. Like it didn't shy away from those sort of things. Lucky Sheeps wants to know. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah. If you want to ask a question, I mean, I have another one, but
go ahead. Yeah, and then we'll do that
this
when
is a
we make a turn.
When you think of like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, that adventure platformers, kind of like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, you know, those really changed everyone's perspective on that style of game. But they're not my favorite. If I had to say, what was my most influential childhood character, I would say it was Gex. You remember that? The secret agent Gecko. Now, I'm not saying it was a good game, but as that young kid who loved Austin Powers, that's what I needed. Gex is what I needed. Gex 3, Enter the Gecko, I believe it was called.
See, I was a Sonic kid. I was a Sega kid.
Okay.
So, like, when you talk about platformers, that Mario isn't the first thing I think of. Sonic's the first thing I think of. But I mean, Sonic was the Mario of Sega. They just drove that IP into the ground.
They did. They've been doing bad things.
Lucky Sheep wants to know why we make the turn into topic 3. What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear. Okay, for some reason, my biggest fear is losing an eye. So you know the rebar that they put into the ground, and then they put cement on it, just give it some stability, and it's just sticking up out the ground. Every time I see one of those, I just envision myself tripping and it going through my eye socket. For some reason, losing an eye is my biggest fear, and I don't know why. It's not like I have had one traumatic eye situation. My friend, the Cameron Milam, we were at his house, and he just had this stick. It was just like this dowel rod for crafting, and he jumped out of his closet and goes, "Ha!" And that thing just sailed beautifully straight right into my eye, and I freaked. Like I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!" Like freaking out on the ground because it was a fear. Like I lost my eye. Maybe that's what's scarring me.
My left eye doesn't work, so.
But it wasn't anything traumatic. You were just born that way, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, when I was younger, my brother one time launched me up into the air. Like he laid on his back head and I put my stomach on his feet, and he like launched me up in the air, and I landed on the corner of a couch arm, just boom, right there. Had the worst black eye I've ever had in my life. But my biggest fear is people creeping in my windows at night, just looking in them.
Oh,
my fear is not necessarily of being watched, because I'm hideous. Like they're not looking for any sort of. But my fear is catching them watching me. Like, watch me all you want, just don't let me catch you.
Oh, okay.
Because then I'll be freaked out.
All right, there you have it.
All right, topic 3.
All right.
This is your topic. I'm going to let you lead.
So, we have a lot of endeavors in life. We have a lot of hobbies. We have a lot of hopes and dreams.
Mostly doily making.
But, you know, when it comes to who you are creatively, who you are professionally, and who you are personally, there have been people around you or people that you've looked up to or researched and read into that inspires you, that makes you the person who you are, or at least helps inspire you to be the person you are. And I was wondering, creatively, professionally, and personally, who are the biggest influences in your life? Who helped make Luke?
All right. Let's start personally. Let's go.
Oh,
let's go reverse. Let's go reverse.
Because that was my cheesiest one, though.
Yeah. We can knock the cheesy ones out.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. For me, it's my brother. Mm-hmm. I got a brother. He's 7 years older than me. He's kind of the reason for a whole bunch of things in my life. When we moved to Virginia when I was in second grade, he was the guy who was like, we got to start going to church. We got to start doing all this stuff. And, I'm in ministry now, and that wouldn't have happened had it not been for my brother. But I spent a ton of time talking to my brother. We talk like girls, like almost every other day probably. We have phone conversations with one another, and he gives good advice, gives good insight, kind of just he's just been a really big influence on my life.
Absolutely.
So, and again, that's weird. Like I'll probably talk about the people I don't know much longer than I talk about the people I know because it just feels weird.
So less.
Yes, less. Less is more 206 on Twitch. He never streams. Go follow.
Go follow. He never does it. Mine is cheesy, but I'm not apologizing for it. But I would say it is my wife. And the reason why I say that is because I am a very cynical, apathetic, crude of a person. I would much rather go to the dentist than get in touch with my emotions. That's just not who I am. I don't really get upset at many things. I don't really get stressed about things. It's because I don't have emotions anymore.
I don't feel.
And it's sad. It is sad because I need to, what was it Doc Reese said that hate wasn't the opposite of love, indifference was?
Yes.
And that's apathy, indifference. And the reason why I say my wife is because she is an emotional person. She is someone who's in tune with, expressing her emotions and feeling them. And it inspires me to do that as well because I know that me just being this meh kind of person isn't the funnest thing to be. And she inspires me to actually get in touch with my emotional side and
with your feminine side.
So she's very much an inspiration to me because I purposefully shut off my connection with my emotions, and I need to get back to where I can feel again.
I'll make you feel again, Diz.
Apathy is beautiful. It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing because you just don't care about anything.
See, I'm an incredibly passionate person, and I'm very much in touch with the way that I feel in my emotions. You know that we lived together for 2.5 years. You heard me rant on for 45 minutes about things that were going on in my life. You're like, I wish you paid me $100 an hour to counsel you because you counsel yourself.
And I'm that dude. It's just like if something bad happens, I'm like, well, let's move on.
Or if I come to your office and I'm like, hey, Diz, you want to grab lunch with me? You're like, I can. I'm indifferent.
I can.
I don't love you. Indifference.
All right. Yeah, she's a big influence on me because I feel like she can teach me to be better, and I think that's very important to me right now.
Okay. Awesome. What was the next category?
You want to go up, so let's go to professionally. Or you want to go creatively?
Professionally is fine. Okay. Because I'm in ministry, and so my professional, recently it's a guy named Matt Chandler who ministers at a church in Dallas, Texas, because he talks so much about like accountability and how having people that you're transparent with and honest with are just so important to living a healthy life. And so professionally for me right now, it would probably be that. And then secondly, John Piper, a guy who's really shaped my theology and influenced me in a plethora of great ways.
And now you have a nephew named after him.
Now I have a nephew named after him, Piper.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. So that's my professional.
That's cool. I had two as well.
Okay.
I had one of like my present profession and one of something that I think that I could be pretty good at. So when I experience, what this guy does, it encourages me. But professionally, I would say Francis Chan because I'm also in ministry, and I'm not saying that I look to Francis Chan because like my belief system is exactly like his. I'm saying it because he is an amazing speaker. Like
and he's got giant hands. His hands are huge. Like hold up your hand, and then his hand goes like that.
Good night. He's so eloquent with his words. I'm not very good with my words, So a lot of times I'll be talking to people and there'll just be long pauses because I'm trying to think of the right word to say. And when I watch videos of this guy, he just does it with such finesse, such style, such passion, and it's so easy to understand. I feel like when I'm teaching, it can get muddy sometimes. Those are huge hands.
Look at these hands, guys.
Mark Driscoll?
Yes, it is.
Those hands.
These are giant hands, ladies and gentlemen. These are real life human hands that are about 6 times the size of your hands. All right, they're very, very large hands. I think this picture also does some decently good justice to it, even though it's super
head
tiny.
Size and hand size.
Yeah, very big hands. I'm sorry.
It's
Go
okay,
ahead.
but I looked at him because he's really good with his words. He's very he speaks so cleanly, and you can just understand it. And I feel like I get muddy sometimes. And then the other guy, this is the position I feel like I could do. And it's a guy named Chris Perkins, and he is a professional dungeon master for D&D. He plays for Wizards of the Coast, and he helped develop some of the editions. And his job is to, like, 2 to 4 times a year to run Dungeons and Dragons games with some people called Acquisitions Incorporated. That's his job. He gets to make up these stories and run them. And I would love to get paid to do that. Get paid to do that.
Lucky Sheep wants to know if we've ever heard of the PlayStation Vita.
Hey, you've owned a few. And
I own one now, and I love it.
what's that?
This is a PSP.
Pshaw.
Directly from Konami, from the kind folks over at Kind of Funny Games.
Yes.
All right, moving on to
creatively.
creatively.
I also have 2 here.
Yeah, I do too. I
Good.
took your lead. I used to be really creative musically, and I've lost it somehow, and I want to recapture it. But one of the guys that I listen to, and all the time, anytime I listen to his music, it just inspires me to make music, is a guy named William Fitzsimmons. Who are you going to say?
Okay, Jesse Lacey.
Jesse Lacey, too. I have so many musical influences, like because Lydia's another one that really inspires me. And so I have a lot, but when I think about the main musical influence in my life, it's William Fitzsimmons, because I feel like a lot of my writing is similar to his. Okay. And he's got an excellent beard, so we're gonna look him up really quick.
Immaculate.
One day, and I also want to compare him to this guy. Hold on. Oh my gosh, if I could type.
Oh. Ha ha.
Ha ha.
Remember that guy.
Chris Move, he still makes videos, dude.
Good.
Yeah, he's still good. All right, so I'm gonna try to find a good picture of this guy. This is a good one. So we're gonna view this image, and then we're gonna.
What's that from?
What?
I
have no idea.
It's like when they wager things. Oh crap! Nick Arcade.
All right.
Oh, that is a nice beard.
So
beards are so in nowadays. Like this dude is.
So here's William Fitzsimmons' beard, which inspires me. But the man under the beard also inspires me. But then here's the guy from Medal of Honor, and I feel like they're the same person.
He's a little grayed out.
Yeah, but he's got some age on him. Like if William Fitzsimmons ever got shot in the butt, this is what he would look like. Yeah. A bug jumped up and bit me in the buttocks. Yeah. So, William Fitzsimmons, he inspires me creatively, musically. I know one of yours is musical, so you go ahead and
musically for me, Josh Homme. All right, this is the lead guy for Queens of the Stone Age, them Crooked Vultures, Eagles of Death Metal. He was in Caius. This dude is fantastic because he is one of the musicians who literally made his own style. Like, you can listen to other bands and be like, okay, this is a good style, but, you can think of other bands that sound like them or are influenced by them. But Josh Homme, his style, he made up just because he tried different things. He tried to play differently. And his style it just resonates through everything he does with Queens of Stone Age, the Crooked Vultures, Eagles of Death Metal, even though he's on drums for them. He's just so inspiring to me because that's who I want to be. I want to be able to just have complete freedom and creativity with music and not worry about, does this sound the best? Does this sound the coolest? Because he just has a way to make everything sound amazing. And I'm very jealous of that. Very jealous of that. Josh Homme.
Josh Homie.
Josh Homme. Homme.
You my homie, Josh.
Homie Josh. I wish.
And then the other part creatively is for the stuff that we do here, like in the Player 3 podcast, because we've been doing this for a year now, and I feel like we've grown a lot. Our stream looks good. We can do stuff like this, where we could be like, "Hey, here we are doubling," and now you're watching us watch us.
We're behind.
Yeah. So, which is pretty cool. And the person that's inspired me the most, it's actually a pair of people who are kind of all one person anyway, which is Greg Miller and Kyle Moriarty.
There you go.
Two dudes. They were on Podcast Beyond. It started a couple years ago. Started listening to that podcast because I couldn't get enough conversation about the PS4 in with my friends, and it was a way for me to have more conversation. Well, join into two other people's. And then I started thinking, like, man, I mean, it's not easy to do it, but we could do that. We talk about video games, so we decided to start in on it. And the main thing that influences me about them is the way that Greg Miller talks about their fans, and he refers to them as their best friends, as his best friends. And he's like, when I say that, I'm not, bullcrapping you. Like, you guys make what we do possible. And that's really inspired the way that we try to interact with the people in our chat while we stop in the middle of our stream to say, what are those? And I don't get that reference, but
It's a Vine thing.
So, I deleted Vine a long time ago.
You tried to get Vine famous.
I did. Last year was the year to get Vine famous. I had one Vine where I pretended like I was reading, but I couldn't read.
I thought it was the pot thing.
No, I had two. Then I had the pot one. It was when you cook in pork fried rice for your homie Raekwon and realize he's a vegetarian.
Raekwon.
But anyway, so yeah, that's my other creative one.
Me creatively, I've always been an artiste. I did a lot of drawing when I was younger. I kind of fell off the bandwagon for a while because I started playing guitar, but I still feel like I have the ability to draw. And a big influence to me is Mike Mignola. He's the artist and writer for Hellboy. His style is just something I've never seen before. His use of negative space, his use of shadows, his use of just simple detail is just incredibly inspiring to me. And when I did start drawing again about last year, he was my main influence on that. And it's very apparent that it looks like his style, but his understanding of shading and shadows and just the absence of lighting is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Awesome.
Love it.
So those are our influences. And this was 3 Topic Thursday with Luke and Diz. If you missed any of this episode and you want to go see it archived, head on over to youtube.com/player3podcast. It'll be up. If you're watching us over on Twitch, stick around for the after party lounge. We're going to talk about Deus Ex, and we're also going to talk about the Vita. I'm going to throw that on you real quick. So
I don't know about the Vita.
Huh?
I know nothing about the Vita.
Just don't worry about it. You'll be able to interact in this conversation. But this was 3 Topic Thursday. Thank you for watching. I'm Luke. This is Diz. Bye.